So, as I vaguely mentioned in my Sorcerer review, Chamber of Secrets was made the year before Sorcerer. I guess EA decided to do the game on the movie that was coming out, and then go back and do Sorcerer's Stone. Interesting decision. So, let's review the first game in the Harry Potter franchise. Or the second. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Unlike Sorcerer's Stone, which I recently tracked down to add to my collection, this game I've had for quite a while. And I really enjoyed it when I first played it, and when I went back to replay it, I still enjoyed it as well. But is it still any good? Well, let's find out. I've also been asked to keep this review a little bit shorter than the first one. Well, I'll do my best. So, when starting the game, one thing that is immediately apparent is that the storytelling is much looser than the first or the second game. The intro isn't really plot exposition. It's just weird. Like this scene when they're running across the bridge. What does this have to do with the movie or the book? Regardless, the cutscenes remain unskippable. However, this isn't as bad as the first or the second game. For three reasons. Numero uno, there are fewer cutscenes in general, and I only counted 2 pointless ones that had no effect on the plot. Remember in the first or the second game, where there was cutscene after cutscene ripped straight from the book and wasn't even needed? Numero dos, the voice acting is slightly better in the second or first game. And if you think this joke is old now, just wait until 10 minutes from now. Anyway, Ron's voice isn't grating anymore. I no longer wish I had a news handy when listening to Hermione, and the new voice, Lockhart, did a pretty good job. And numero tres. In the first or the second game, no matter how good or crappy the voice acting was, it missed one thing: personality. I didn't even realize this until I popped in Chamber of Secrets again. Sorcerer's Stone was just running through the lines, giving us passable, but you know what, boring dialogue. Chamber of Secrets just slightly livens things up. Like, this cutscene is actually kind of funny, and it wasn't in the book or movie.
And I would encourage you to be careful how you play the famed game, so to speak. Be sparing with your public appearances at first, and watch the company you keep.
Harry!
Well,
Harry,
I remember
we've
the time
missed
when I was
the
writing my
train!
second
Missed the
bestseller,
train?
Gavin
Yes!
Schools.
The Hogwarts
I believe
Express
the
left
more
5
exposure
minutes
I got
ago.
to the press,
Oh
the
no!
better
What
my
are we going
career
to
would
do?
progress.
Well,
Trouble was,
I know
became
that Dad took the flying car to work
and
this
it
morning.
wasn't until
It's
I
parked
was
in Charing Cross
mysteriously
Road.
missing for 3 weeks, subsequently leaking
It's
the
our
story
only
to the
chance of
prophet
getting
that
to
I'd been
school on
captured by
time.
trolls in the wilds of Stockton-on-Tees, that I managed to regain my former prominent position as the world's most popular wizard. Harry? Oh.
And I also think this story is a bit better because Chamber of Secrets was better than Sorcerer's Stone as a book and movie too. Plot exposition in the first or the second game is hearing about some break-in at Gringotts that happened miles and miles away. In this game, you see a friggin' ghost get paralyzed next to a wall with a harsh warning written in blood. Awesome! However, they could have explained some stuff better, but I'm not really going to beat too much on it. When you get to play again, you'll notice that the movement control feels slightly different than in the first or the second game. However, this is only noticeable if you just played Sorcerer's Stone. In terms of control, it's otherwise identical to the first or the second. Title: X is your action button, square, circle, and triangle are your spell buttons, the D-pad is your why aren't you used because you'd be perfect to map spells to so I don't have to go to the select screen to switch spells every 5 seconds button, and you target with R1. Jumping's automatic now, but it's less finicky, thank God. Now it won't unwillingly plunge to my death. Well, as much. Another thing Chamber of Secrets has going for it is that it has a much more pre-Hogwarts intro. You already start out with Flipendo, although it's pretty sad that Harry's forgotten all the other spells from last year. Anyway, while just at the Burrow, you play target practice on some gnomes, and then you actually pick them up and throw them. Huh, sweet. Yeah, that's for Narnia. That's for Frodo. That's for Johnny. And that's for 009. And this is... I'm out of references. But hey, I beat Fred's record. Woohoo! If you can't tell by now, this game is more or less the same engine of the first or the second game. Actually, since this game was made first, it's more like the engine of Sorcerer's Stone was nearly identical to the second or first game. Yeah, don't worry, I have a decent conclusion to this joke. Just let me run it 10 more times. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the graphics are more or less the same, But instead of bashing them, I will take the time to say that I admire the lighting effects in this low-res game. The graphics aren't great, but hey, what you gonna do? Actually, I'm gonna answer this question. You're gonna do nothing because the graphics are 9 years old. And really, I'm impressed by the presentation. First, unlike in the first or the second game, the auto presentation is great. Well, it's not eye-glaringly bad like Sorcerer's Stone. The music fits the mood, and there aren't any skips everywhere like in the first game. Or second. Another thing that's nice is that we now get 8 spells instead of 6. And ironically enough, there are less spell challenges in this game. Okay, more on that later. Anyway, returning is Flipendo, or should I say debuting is Flipendo, because this was the first game. Or second. Anyway, Lumos is back. I think it lasts longer after you ignite it than in Sorcerer's Stone. However, the gargoyle gimmick is gone. But I guess it's no huge deal. But I do miss the sparkly platforms. Alejandro is back also, but you actually need to buy the spell at Fred and George's shop, and it isn't mandatory. Anyway, no dumb cutscenes showing the doors unlocking, but odds are you won't even get the spell unless you're a completionist. Spongeify makes its return as well, no longer turning carpets into trampolines, and instead gets rid of Flubber. Okay, it's not really called this, but I'm going to call it Flubber. While getting rid of Flubber does make more sense, I do wish they'd get a trampoline spell, because that spell was fun. However, I really do like this spell, not just because it's really efficient for clearing up Robin Williams' weirdest invention away, it's also great for dueling. Yeah, I bet you didn't see that one coming. I'll explain once I get to that part of the review. Defendo is back as well. It cuts ropes and tapestries made of stone. I'm not kidding. You'd think it'd bend or something when you cut it and you'd be able to get through it, but it's not. Alright, I guess I don't need to care. There are also 2 new spells.
Got it! The Expelliarmus spellbook!
Expelliarmus and Avifors. Expelliarmus deflects projectiles, although technically it's supposed to get rid of wands. Ah well, the movie got it wrong too. Then there's Avifors, a spell that turns statues into small birds. Yeah, it's situational, and this is probably the only main spell, Alejandro doesn't count, that is barely used. Well, that's the basic premise of the game, and I guess I might as well come out and say, this game is awesome! But for a game that runs off the same engine as the average prequel, or should I say, sequel, well, actually, Sorcerer's Stone is a prequel no matter what the order in which they were made, because Chamber of Secrets takes place after it. But, anyway, my point is, what does this game do to make it eons better than its brother, which on paper looks about the same? Well, I have devised a list. Number 1, this game is both shorter and longer. Yeah, this probably isn't making any sense. Allow me to explain. This game is shorter because there are less challenges, and they take less time to beat. But it's longer because even though you just pop in this game for the story to be done with it, you'll finish in around the same time you did with the first game or second. But there are some real fun side quests. Ironically, they all include finding crap for useless stationary people. But trust me when I say that the payout is really, really good. You can also fly around Hogwarts, which, to be fair, was in the first game, and I really should have mentioned this more than just complaining that it was so hard to get on the ground. But now there's just so much more to see on the rooftops. And now I can return those items at the bulletin. And wow, these people are friggin' generous. 10 house points and a wizard card. Now that's a tip. And since I mentioned house points, you cannot just BS your way to winning the house cup like in the first or second game. You have to do some side quests, so if you don't care, alright. But if you want to win, you gotta earn it, which I'm all for. You might be asking, if the spell challenges are scarcer and shorter, how could the game be longer? Well, there's just so much more to do. What I mean? Well, that's answered with number 3, better Quidditch. I still wish you could play other positions, but to be fair, you are playing a Harry Potter game, so you should play as Harry Potter, and Harry Potter only plays as the Seeker. I also wish that there was more to this should-be epic sport than just flying through rings, but at least I didn't go insane during the 4 Quidditch matches. I like the fact that the controls are better, and that instead of just flying through rings until you make it to the snitch, you fly through the rings to collect boosts, and then you boost to catch the snitch, and then you actually have to catch it. And if you don't haul butt, you could lose the game to the other Seeker. So, overall, I find Quidditch much more enjoyable. Number 4, much better stealth. The first, or the second, game's stealth was pretty painful. The AI was dumb, and there was only one section of it. But now, each night mission has stealth, and there's an opening section of it too. And if you get caught, then you lose 5 house points, putting something on the line. No BSing around here. The AI is better, there's more sneaking techniques that you can use, and I just find it a lot more fun. I also like how the sting pellets are actually useful here. In fact, they're pretty much essential. There aren't any dung bombs, but I guess that's not really a big deal. There's also these green balloons you can shoot up in the air. I guess they'd be distractions. Not very useful, but hey, let me try this. I can lure all the prefects to a corner with one and then nail one of them with a sting pellet. Another one. There we go. I'm home free. One last great thing about the stealth is the sound. I'm not kidding when I say the stealth sections have some incredible sound design, and it was something I really took for granted until capturing footage for this game. When you're unseen by your enemies, there is either a chilling background music or utter silence, and it really helps the mood. And when you're caught,
Actually, wait, they're right here. Run!
go, go, go! Ha! Oh, awesome! Even though I don't know how I escaped, but who cares? Number 5, way better bosses. In Sorcerer's Stone, there were 2 main bosses, one of which was boring and easy, and the other was cheap and frustrating. The recurring in this game is more fun. You have an Expelliarmus battle with a gargoyle, and it's very intense, even if it is a little overused. There's also that ghost battle with Lumos returning from the first or the second game, and while it's not used much, it's nice to have again. And you also fight a tree, and a washing machine, and 2 other bosses I'm not gonna show because they'd spoil the story, but they're also pretty cool. And there's the dueling. I'm not gonna say it's exactly as I dreamed, but it's fun. I really like using Spongify to mess up my opponent, and then ramming a Flipendo down their throat because they can't block it. Number 6, no longer so damn dark. Okay, to be honest, this game is still dark for me, but that's mostly because of the 8 friggin' windows surrounding my TV. But this game is well lit, even at night. So, yeah, nice job. Okay, so it's been established that this game is way better than the first or second.
Alright, that's enough.
Huh?
Cut out this first and second game crap. It's stupid. Call Sorcerer the first game and Chamber the second game.
And if I don't want to?
Well, you'll just have to suffer the consequences.
Okay. Hey, look at Xbox!
Hey, where? I'm gonna kill all those things. Curse you!
No, but seriously, I will stop.
So after that pointless interruption, which was actually the decent conclusion I mentioned earlier, so hope that wasn't too disappointing. Anyway, bad things about this game. Well, the cutscenes are still unskippable, which is annoying, although, again, they put more effort into these cutscenes than the first game,
Yep, see? Pass that one up.
which makes this downside a little more bearable. Still, the option would have been nice. Also, the load times in this game are long. They last from 10 to 20 seconds, and they are so abundant. This is where I do have to take off my imaginary hat to Sorcerer's Stone, because there were very little load times. Next, the game is, as I already mentioned, kinda short. It takes about 6 to 7 hours, but that's only if you don't dig into the 100 cards you can buy, and they can be very cleverly hidden and fun to find, believe it or not. And there are the aforementioned side quests, and the game probably would have gotten old if it was a few hours longer. Finally, the camera could have been much better, because sometimes it would get stuck, or not show the platform, screwing me over. Despite these few issues, this is an awesome licensed game. It's engaging, replayable, and most of all, it has serious heart. The developers really wanted to capture the Harry Potter spirit in this game, and they did a terrific job. It obviously isn't perfect, but Harry Potter fans shouldn't think twice about tracking a copy down. And those looking for a game full of fun secrets to find should definitely consider getting this game. It gets an 8.5 out of 10.
So that's one average game and one great game done. So what was next for the Harry Potter franchise? Well, we're going to find out next time in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
Oh, and you can hit people in this game. It's the little things in life.